Okay, welcome back to Beyond Co-Sell. We're going to unpack again what actually works in the real world. I'm Andrew Morris, joined by Michael Musselman, and today we're tackling a problem every software company faces. You've launched on Marketplace and nothing happens. So in this episode, we're breaking down how to rescue a stalled listing and turn it into real pipeline in just 90 days.
That's a good topic. Good
I
topic.
know. So we launched, nothing happened. So Michael, let's talk about, dirty secret. Most AWS marketplaces, place listings don't take off. They just stall.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this regularly within the community. We meet up with teams who have literally spent 6 to 12 months launching and then tumbleweed. There's a lot of
Yeah.
frustration in the business. So what do you think?
I'm the analogy king. Like my brain just works this way. And so the example and the analogy I've always had for this is, I'll use an American company like Walmart or Costco or something. It's like you have a product and you're so excited you did this big deal with Walmart and you're going to be in 100 of their stores. And if you've ever been into these superstores, there's 50,000 products in the store. And you're on row 97, shelf at the bottom in the back of the store, and you're wondering why it's not just flying off the shelves.
Yeah.
And I think the reality is all marketplaces are very much you get out of it what you put into it. And if the strategy was just getting into the store and hoping that it was going to sell itself, that's really not the case. And for most marketplaces, there's two patterns that you end up doing. One is private offers, where you are selling your solution and the marketplace becomes a procurement fulfillment. I always think of that as like I'm at the register and I can either pay for my goods and groceries with credit card or cash, some form of payment. That's kind of how I see these fulfillment, these marketplaces payment systems. And there's some benefits and cash backs and all that other stuff. But the other side of it is pay as you go and free trial conversions and and then there's programs and ways, and that's how the clouds sell. Remember, they're a consumption-based business. You swipe a credit card, start using EC2 and S3, and like you're off to the races building your next great app or whatever it is. That's the pattern of AWS, is it's a consumption business. So partners that can fit into that model of consumption, that's also a pattern as well. And you see that commonly called as pay-go or pay-as-you-go types of like consumption metering, that kind of structure. There's a lot of people that come to the marketplace, sometimes to do research. AWS is using AI and traffic and SEO to help serve customers different products. Or if you're looking for product A, you might find product B. Remember, they're Amazon. They've got the largest marketplace in the world, AWS. Their sister company, they see each other. They're starting to build that kind of patterning as well. But products just don't fly off the shelf without branding and awareness, some kind of sales execution or running demand generation, and then obviously like tying it into your sales process, which could be goals, like is your sales team comp neutral or not for that transaction method, right? I always think of like a restaurant and they're like, oh, I want to pay with my Visa. And they're like, great, you can, but we charge you an extra 3 or 5%. You're like, what? Why would I want to do, like there's a lot of companies and things that people do this. I don't think that makes any sense for the buyer, the consumer, right? So payment flexibility. So I think that's the problem. The question about what do you do about it?
Yeah.
That's where we probably let unpack a strategy.
And I think one of the things you hit right at the top of that was people treat it as a project, not like a go-to-market strategy. We've done it a few times, but when someone tells you or C-level tells you marketplace isn't working for us, what are the first things you look for? What are the key things that you look for there?
I answer questions with questions all the time. It probably pisses off a bunch of my executives, but like, what did you expect? Because everything is usually it's a misaligned expectation. Why did you do this? Remember, I already asked that, but also like, well, what did you expect? And how are you looking at it? And honestly, I've had CFOs tell me that marketplace was too expensive. They were looking at all the millions of dollars we were doing in the listing fees. And I was like, I just don't see it the same way. I see it. We're actually empowering sales. We're generating revenue. And you're looking at that maybe as a cost of goods sold, but it's not. It's really a sales expense. The retailers, I'm sure, are negotiating better rates with the master, the Walmarts is negotiating better rates with everyone. And I know it's a push and pull. But the truth is that if people want to buy that way, I want to sell that way. And the consumer behavior, the game that we play, the rules of that game, we can't change the rules. So you might as well just find yourself there. The other thing that I have found is that there's a lot of benefits to the marketplace that, to no fault of the executives, they just don't understand, right? I always say, if you look around your company and you don't know who the marketplace expert is, it better be you. Go figure it out. And there's a lot of ways to learn. But the reality is, marketplaces allow for flexible payments, monthly, quarterly. Marketplaces allow for currency conversions. Marketplaces allow for distributor, channel partner, resellers to be involved. Marketplaces allow for selling in other countries where maybe you didn't have an entity or a legal thing or a partner knocking down stuff on your paper. So an expansion and growth opportunity. Marketplaces represent a lot of unique scenarios for your company's growth that most CEOs and CFOs don't quite understand. And they're no fault to them, but they're expert. They're afraid to ask. So
Yeah.
sometimes I just walk in like, what did you expect? I've seen this at scale, but like it didn't start there overnight. What are we doing to ensure that there's success? How are the sales teams compensated against this form of payment? I just start asking questions, and all those answers are going to give me kind of the data to then figure out when I actually have to say something, how am I going to change the way they think about this and the way maybe they even align their books to it. You get out of things usually what you put into them. So if I listed it and I did nothing and I maybe closed a couple, I hear this a lot, like, oh, I closed my first 3 marketplace deals. How come AWS isn't bringing me more customers? My first question is, who told you were going to get that? Like, I would go blame whoever set that expectation, planted that seed in your head, because that's not how it works.
So what I hear is it's myth busting.
A little bit,
I
yeah,
think
probably.
what I hear is a lot of C levels say, well, I'm listed, where the leads? There's an
Yeah,
expectation of
yeah.
leads. And yes, marketplace is an acceleration lane, but it's not a magical demand gen engine, right? And so it's
No,
setting that expectation.
I mean, I guess the same behavior if you're shopping on eBay or Amazon.com or something, how often are you just sitting there doom scrolling looking for the next magical product that's going to change your life? Like consumer behavior is it's even more likely to happen in consumer behavior than it is business enterprise software behavior.
Yeah.
That's just not how people do. But if you know, oh, I have a need, I need to replace this thing, I might go into the marketplace and say, hey, I need to replace this thing. Who are the vendors? What do they say about themselves? And again, marketplace listings, they have reviews. They have native reviews. You can connect external reviews like G2 and PeerSpot and things. You can, if I'm buying a product on Amazon and it's got no reviews or a bunch of bad press, what's that going to make me think of the product? If I go to the product and it has like the worst listing and it says we sell SaaS software for security, and it's got no videos, no white papers, no customer testimonials, no like how comfortable. So I also think too, people don't treat listings like they treat their website.
Yeah.
In early companies, I built the listing, I put all the words in there. And I shaped it with the better together with my company and Amazon and the Amazon ecosystem. And I plucked a lot of that from our own website. But eventually, over time, even at those companies, I got the web team and the marketing team to realize, newsflash, this is another digital property for us. Whatever we do on our website, we should make sure quarterly, annually to revisit our marketplace listings and make sure that product, SKUs, descriptions, features, all that stuff makes sense. That's another big change that I find customers like build it and it's off in the corner and they never, yeah, all of that stuff happens.
So it's interesting. So I'm going to call it myth busting because I quite like that.
I like it.
Listing, which is basically your shop window. If you don't rearrange your shop window and in a nice way, no
Yeah.
one's going to buy the product, right? And
No.
then I think for me, the third piece is I see go-to-market issues internally. A lot of the time, A's don't understand
Yeah.
why, and it's not comp neutral. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the key things as well.
Yeah,
that's
I'll put out there. Look, there's a model that AWS has created. It's called the cause model. It's the characteristics of a successful seller via marketplace. And so they have a framework. You can go read all about it. I've written stuff on AWS in the past about, co-selling and just kind of when are you ready to scale your AWS partnership on my LinkedIn. Like that stuff's out there. Like most things, very simple. You do get out of it what you put into it, right? In that shop window, someone's deciding what to feature in that shop window. It might be the thing they make the most money with. It might be the thing that is already super popular. It may be their category defining product, right? There's a bunch of analogies, and I find that in business, people forget that they're consumers in their personal life and that these things overlap very tightly. And the same decisions you would make as a consumer, as a buyer of something, your customers are making the same kind of decisions about you as an enterprise.
if you had 1 month to solve, what would you fix first? So if you've walked in, you've evaluated, but you got 1 month to make a dead listing co-sellable, if you like, what would you try and fix first?
Yeah, I think so. We started with the expectations and the high level data gathering. Most likely your strategy is going to be built out of that, but I usually find that it's around operational unexcellence, right? There's usually who owns what, who's doing what, all of that stuff. If the goal was to sell more through it, then it's about like sales enablement and education. If the goal was to drive more PLG, right? Then you have to go to marketing and try to drive demand campaigns and other stuff. AWS has programs. One of my buddies has a program at AWS called Seller Prime. It's an AWS funded for partners that can do pay as you go, and they match your marketing spend with MDF, right, to help you amplify. And the main goal is to help you drive more product led growth stuff. But the same thing is true is I can't force product-led growth on a company if that's not a way that they already want to sell and capture the market. That takes product and engineering things as well. We wanted to talk about beyond co-sell, but I still find co-sells like the start of everything. And it's usually my sales team's the tip of the spear. So I always think about that too, is it's probably like, who are my top sellers? How are we selling today? What marketplace deals did we do? And if I wanted to find more patterns like that, maybe we sold to a retailer and I wanted to go leverage that retail win and that success story with the team at AWS that covers other retailers, or I wanted to put together a webinar about our solution plus AWS and the retailer and promote that. So they're always co-sell and marketing are always like hand in hand, I find. And so I think of those things because to generate more pipeline or more awareness or more, it's going to be a sales and marketing kind of led activity. And usually I'm kind of helping support and push both of those sales plays or strategic visions.
I'm going to do a wrap up, but if someone's watching this and their listing is basically flatlining,
Yeah.
what's one thing do you want them to do in the next 7 days?
Go through your CRM. So we use Salesforce, but literally go through your entire pipeline. Most pipeline has the series of stages, and usually there's some kind of forecast or commitment to the business in the next 90 days, 120 days. I'd literally go look at the deals. I'd try to back into which deal, like if any of those deals are in the clouds where your marketplace listing exists. And then I'd really just start listening to forecast calls, go talking to the individual sellers and positioning. I said this, why not marketplace, but positioning, can marketplace help you accelerate this deal? In the same sense, not beyond co-sell, but in the co-sell process, it's also a great conversation to have with the AWS sales teams about their customer that we might be selling to. So for a lot of sales processes, you might do a proof of concept, you might do something. Your original marketplace listing is always going to be about private offers, and it's always going to be about attaching that finish line to your thing. But look at the Gartner study, the Forrester TI study on marketplace. You'll see a bunch of stats. Marketplace can help you make deals go faster, can help deals get bigger. You're accessing what I call not just a credit card, but a prepaid credit card. Like that customer has dollars on a credit card and they can only spend it on AWS services or on services like yours through the marketplace. So once you understand those dynamics, I would start with you, your pipeline, your sales team, and that's, you can move 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. That's how you start to build gravity. If it's a PLG thing, that's a whole separate talk track, but that's kind of where I would start.
Yeah, so focus on the small wins, celebrate the small wins, and it's not terminal, right? The fact you're on marketplace is a really good start.
Yeah. I will wrap this with the why.
Yeah.
So AWS, Google, Azure. Partnership utopia is when I can sell my own product and I can retire quota for someone else at another company with their native quota. And the way that the clouds have set up marketplace benefits today, it's changed over time, it shapes. But today, me as an ISV built on AWS or built on Google, selling through the AWS or Google marketplace, I sell my own selfish product, home run, I got money, and I'm retiring the quota of the rep at the cloud provider. And that is partnership utopia, end of stop. And that's what's happening in that dynamic. So if you are trying to build a partnership or business friendship with one of those companies, start with their wallet. It does work.
And on that note, thank you very much.